let's say there's a first-time director, first-time producer, and they're looking to use a casting director services for the first time. And they might not have friends or others in the filmmaking industry that know casting directors that they could reach out to. Is there like an online database to find casting directors? Where would they look to find a casting director?
Well, what I would say, instead of just doing a blanket search, like you can do a search on Casting Society of America because the casting directors are listed there, but find a film that you thought the casting was amazing and you loved everything about it and you thought it was so cohesive, and like find a couple of them and then, reach out and see if you can interview them, or if they're available, who knows. But that's how I would do it.
Yeah. That way you're not going off a blank Google search, you're going off of something you already know has credibility. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm going to add to that, don't choose $100 million Hollywood film.
Well, oh, right, exactly.
No, but people will do that. People are going to do that. The indie filmmakers will choose Forrest Gump and say, who cast that? And that's who they're going to phone. And they're not going to get the time of day. They're not going to be able to afford it. Okay, I just want to have some fun, Miriam, because you and I, like, you cast a movie for me, and you cast a character, and you said he's a great guy. You should use him. He'll get the job done. He looks good on camera. And then right after that movie, he became a big celebrity. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
so it's Kevin Miles, and after he shot our movie, which I call God Incorporated now, he became Jake from State Farm. So now, do you think that a guy like that, now he's, big celebrity on all these commercials with all these famous athletes and everything like that. What do you, I'm just asking on behalf of everybody else. I'm curious for myself too, but not that there's necessarily a role in these upcoming films, but would there be any connection because he already shot a film? Would he be accessible, or is he on to the next thing in his life?
No, he's accessible. I mean, again, he has reps and agents, and he's a working actor. Yes, he has Jake of State Farm, but he also wants to do other things.
Mm-hmm. So do you find that that's the key? Like when you've got an actor who is kind of, I'm going to say, gotten a lucky break and got, landed a role and is sort of cast as something, like everybody looks at him now and calls him Jake from State Farm. He's lost his persona as Kevin Miles. Now you can get it back with another role, but and there's hundreds of those kind of roles where everybody says, oh, that's, this guy. Like I did another movie with the guy who played Barney Miller. I forget, I'm blanking on his name. The older guy.
I know, is not Abe Vigoda.
No. It's okay. I'll get. Sorry, I'm having a senior moment. But anyways, everybody. So how is it when you like casting those people, and everybody always looks at them because they've been so typecast as one character for so long? Is it a good idea to use those people or a bad idea? I mean, there's recognizability, right?
If there's recognizability, that would be a selling point.
I think so too, but
yes.
Can anybody take them seriously in a different role though?
Yeah, they're actors, so you should, unless they're not talented. But Kevin, before all of that, I cast him in a pilot that didn't end up going, but he was so good, and I kept casting him all along on other projects before yours, and he's just so likable, and you saw that.
Right. Now, I got to tell you, casting to me is, I love filmmaking. I understand the whole business, obviously. I deal with all the back end, the distribution side, but it breaks my heart how much rejection there is in the casting process. It just breaks my heart to see all these super talented, especially the young people, come in trying so hard. And a lot of them, okay, half of them, okay, I could say they're not right for the role, but the other half are. I mean, how do you choose? How do you decipher which one should get the role? And I know the director obviously does that at the end, but you need to filter that out too. I mean, you're dealing with so many people. So what do you guys look for? Is there some gut thing that you learn after a while as a casting director, or are there actual signs?
I think it's a combination, and I think that's what's great about the puzzle of casting is that usually it works out, I believe. Like you'll sit back at a table read and be like, yeah, this is right. Or one person might be slightly off. And then whether you have to recast, I don't know. But I think it's both gut and, just
they understood the role, like when they read it,
the chemistry of it all,
yeah.
like all of it.
Yeah. Now, for the actors who are watching this, should they pretend to sort of read more into the role and come dressed a certain way or use a certain style? Or, I mean, because that could sell or not sell depending on who the director is, right?
I always believe that you should come in with a clear choice. Don't come in wishy-washy with the scene. Like have a clear choice of
own it.
Yeah.
Of how you're portraying it. Yeah. You're saying this is the way I see it. And
it may be wrong, but we'll see that was a choice. And if you're even a little bit right, we're going to tweak you and have you, do it a different way.
Yeah. I think that again, I'm talking just me personally. All right. So this doesn't go for all directors because some directors are actors, right? So they have that sensitivity. I don't, right? I actually think you have a better eye for talent than I do because you deal with it more often than I do. You deal with it day in, day out. So you see who you can kind of read between the lines, who actually could probably go in different directions, who's one-dimensional, who's multi-dimensional. Would you agree with that, or am I making that up?
I would agree.
I would agree. Yeah.
I think when you see as many actors as you do in that tough phase, which is the first audition or the second audition, I mean, that is tough. Honestly, that is a tough way to go. You sit in those rooms and this is when it's live. When you're self-taping, then you're beside yourself. You don't get that total feeling of rejection or that competition. But in the callbacks when we've done it live, there's still 25, 30 people sitting there in the room, one after the other, or sometimes we put them together to see what the chemistry would be like that way. And there's just so many good choices that sometimes it gets confusing. And I rely on your expertise to help me figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important because it is a collaboration. Sometimes the director gets so involved in their own little vision that they can't see the big picture anymore. Right. And sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not good.
Yep.
So now you said also that you can cast nationwide, basically sitting, I'm sure any casting director anywhere in the world could do that. But what about the physical reality of doing callbacks live? Like, how would that work? Like, let's say you found somebody, let's say in New York, and we're shooting in San Diego. They obviously, at some point we're gonna have to meet them, but like, it doesn't make sense on an indie budget film, like indie budget, to be able to fly them across to do a live audition.
No, and unless you wanted to fly the casting director out to have that live audition, but
the other way, fly you there. You're right.
I think what you would have to rely on is a Zoom, unfortunately, and it could be narrowed down to a chemistry read with these two people if they were like these two specific people in a scene. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Do that.
Yeah, we have done that, but it's entirely up to. Usually, on a low budget, is you don't necessarily look for people outside of the state because you're trying to conserve funds and it gets very expensive, not just with the flights, but the lodging and the per diem and just all of it. It adds up. And so if budget is a concern, that's probably not the route to go. You don't open it up.
Yeah. So
like the two films.
Don't put yourself in a position to fall in love with an actor who is going to be too expensive. The logistics.
Occasionally you're going to have an actor who's like, yeah, they live in New York. They say they can be a local hire. Well, that's on them. You know what I mean? But it still requires some more money than if you just found a local hire.
Okay. So you're saying don't even include them in the casting, procedure, because you don't want to like them, because if you like them, you're going to just set yourself up for more expense and aggravation.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I say that what I always tell indie filmmakers is, don't put in a temp soundtrack of the most expensive music of all time, because you're going to fall in love with it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then you're going to be disappointed when you can't have it. But that's a common error, that everybody does that because, it's temporary. I just want to see what it looks like, with these Beatles songs and Stone songs. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can't live without that.
What can go wrong?
Yeah. Yeah. So, listen, I know that the indie film thing, I'm really big on telling indie filmmakers, don't think you're a Hollywood producer. Don't think you have limited funds. I mean, you got to work within the range that you have and the logistics and the budget. So sometimes, even though you want somebody, they might not be available to you. And I think people get a little too hung up on wanting something too badly, and then they're disappointed with somebody else. But what I'm getting at is, I believe, and again, this is the world according to Jeff Deverett, so you might not agree with this, and a lot of directors won't, that there's many people for each part. I don't think that there's one person who is, there's people who are really good. And the example that I use, and I'm going to use a Hollywood example just because everybody knows the film, but I could do indie films, but nobody will know them, right? The example I use is Tom Hanks in Forrest Gump. All right. Now, did Forrest Gump, the script, make Tom Hanks, or did Tom Hanks make that character? And I think it goes both ways. I think that he was brilliant, but I think there were other actors who could have been equally as brilliant. So I've never hung up on one actor. I always believe that there are lots of choices. And like you say, if you stay open-minded, then you can maybe see it a different way. Well, how do you guys feel about that?
I agree with that. I think that's a good statement. I think when using the Tom Hanks one, the only thing I'd say that Tom Hanks really had is that likability. Not to say other actors didn't, but at that moment in time, if you took a screen grab of the moment in time of this film, he was at the height of likability.
Okay, so
mean?
But that's a marketing thing. That's the studio saying, "Hey, this guy, everybody knows this guy. Let's give him."
Watching it, you had to like him, or he could have come across annoying.
Mm-hmm. But you would admit there would be other actors who could have.
Yeah, there probably, yes, would have created.
You can't. Who knows?
Yeah.
You can't. Who knows?
I don't know who was second in running for that.
I believe that had Tom Hanks said no to that role, and maybe he wasn't even first. I don't know. Who knows if he was first asked? But let's assuming he was the obvious choice and they wanted him. But if he said, sorry, no, I can't do it for whatever reason, they would have found somebody else who probably would have been good. And I think the movie would have hopefully been just as good, because it's such a brilliant script.
Yeah.
But it's very, very dependent on that one actor. I mean, that one actor is carrying that whole story.
Yes.
But I believe there's lots of great actors out there.
I agree.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
As a director, getting hung up, I just think that the casting directors like you can say, hey, here's 3 people who will do this well, especially when you're talking about an indie film. But are there directors who say, no, this is the one, we need to go down that road? I mean, is that?
Sure.
I'm sure there are. I feel like you can go down the road as long as you can go down the road until it's really a 100% no. And then that's all you can, you have to move on. The director has to be able to move on. That
accept reality, and either, do you want to make this film, or is it over? Because you can't move past this person doing it.
I mean, I'm big on that, because to me, it's all logistics, and it's a business, and you have to make sure that, if they're outside your budget range, you gotta
move on.
That's your reality.
And maybe you'll find someone better, and you didn't even know.
I totally believe that you'll be pleasantly surprised, hopefully. And sometimes, by the way, the people who you expect the most from, sometimes just don't have a good day. They don't deliver.
True.
So it goes both ways. Okay, from your perspective, what troubles do you incur dealing with producers, directors? Like if there's ever a bumpy road, can you share that?
I'm trying to think.
Like, is it maybe they want to see way too many people and it doesn't make sense at some point? I liken it to real estate, by the way. It's like some people need to see 500 houses before they'll buy it. And some people, after they walk in the first one, they say, that's it. Like, that's the house. We got it. We got lucky. I don't need to see 50 more because I feel good about this one.
Yeah.
Is that the case with casting too?
Go.
No, I mean,
Like if a director sees the right actor right off the gate, will they know it or do they have to compare it to 100 more?
I think they would have to compare it. I think it would be a disservice if you didn't see, not 100. Don't get me wrong. You don't have to see 100.
Right, I just made that up.
But yeah, like why not see a couple others just to make sure?
Okay, now I'm going to say again, I have a different perspective on this. And
yeah, go on.
I think that you two have the experience and expertise. You've seen the hunt. You've seen many hunt. You've seen thousands. So I would say if you say this is the right one and I could show you 50 more, but you're going to land on this one and here's the reason, then I think that's a service you're providing. Now, I mean, that's my personality type. I don't need to compare it to everybody else. And I never would second guess my decision. I would say I trusted the expertise of the casting director who has seen many more actors. But, a lot of people enjoy this process. They like to see the auditions. They like to see the actors and everything and make a choice. But if the first one you see is the right one, it's the right one, right?
I still kind of, I would feel better just showing at least like 5 more.
Okay.
Or you don't?
No, I mean, I think you're right. Just to make sure you are 100%
sure.
But I mean, that's amazing if you like
the first
one. You believe so strongly.
Yeah, and listen, again,
we're doing a good job. No,
I'm the kind of guy who I bought a house one time. I only saw one house. I walked in. I said, "Here it is. This fits all my criteria. Everything about it." Boom! I made an offer that afternoon, and I never looked at another house. But I can do that. So
right.
It depends
I'm
on
not quite sure everybody can do that.
Yeah, that's true. It's a style thing.
So I would feel more. I would probably feel better just showing a couple more.
Yeah. Okay. No,
just to do your due diligence to say, you know what, I am 100% sold on this person because I saw all these other ones.
But just like, again, I don't know if it's an insult or it's a good comparison to compare real estate to casting, but basically it's a choice, right? You're looking at an asset to be an actor or a house, and you're choosing the criteria. So literally, like I said to my real estate agent, here's my wish list. And it was long. And she said, I have the house for you. Right. And it checked every single box. So I say, like in casting, but casting is not as accurate as that because a lot of it's just gut in my estimation. Like you see somebody and even though you weren't expecting it, there feels like there's chemistry, a connection. I don't know what it is. It's something non-tangible.
Your house isn't going to have that. A house is not going to have that. So like why you would also want to do a chemistry read. What if like this person has Zippo chemistry with this person they're supposed to have like love interest and it just falls flat, then that person's not right. Right?
Yep.
So that's the difference between, I get your point of like, these are the criteria I want, but that's very flat. And a person is more well-rounded than that.
Mm-hmm. So say on your lead roles, how deep do you have to go in this cast? Like how many reads before you know what you're getting? Do you need 3 auditions, 2 callbacks? Like when do you actually know that it's the right person?
You only know until you know.
You mean like when they're
There's also at a certain point you need to figure it out.
Right. Well, you need to make a decision. Yeah, you need to make a decision. So
yes.
How much does it take usually?
I don't think there's a set, like I can't answer that because each one would be different. I mean, I felt some of our characters from God Incorporated we found right away.
Yep, we did.
And I was like, oh, there they are. Like,
And I felt the same way. Yeah.
And then, I mean, then you have other ones where you have to see, many different sessions to really see that they're right.
But, and again, I it could be my perspective, but one of the roles, I think we had 4 or 5 people who I felt were all equal, who all could have done a great job, and we chose one. I mean, and can't even remember why we chose that one. It could have been maybe his availability. But they were all, honestly, they were all equal in terms of the chemistry that I thought they would bring to the role.
Right. Now, I look at those kids that we cast and I was like, that's it. Like, I knew once I saw them individual, then I saw them play off of one another. That was who we cast was who I knew we should cast.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's helpful to have the perspective of a casting director to be able to say that, just because I've seen so many more actors and chemistry in those kind of situations than any director ever. I mean, that's because that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jared, do you have any questions?
I did. I have one that is completely back at the very other side at the very beginning. Let's say there's a first-time director, first-time producer, and they're looking to use a casting director services for the first time. And they might not have friends or others in the filmmaking industry that know casting directors that they could reach out to. Is there like an online database to find casting directors? Where would they look to find a casting director?
Well, what I would say, instead of just doing a blanket search, like you can do a search on Casting Society of America because the casting directors are listed there, but find a film that you thought the casting was amazing and you loved everything about it and you thought it was so cohesive, and like find a couple of them, and that's how then reach out and see if you can interview them if they're available. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But that's how I would do it.
Yeah, that way you're not going off a blank Google search. You're going off of something you already know has credibility. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm going to add to that. Don't choose $100 million Hollywood film.
Well, oh, right. Exactly.
No, but people will do that. People are going to do that. The indie filmmakers will choose Forrest Gump and say, who cast that? And that's who they're going to phone. And they're not going to get the time of day. They're not going to be able to afford it.
Right.
And look at the genre that you're casting.
That too.
Right.
Except that we've done a whole bunch
of course, but who has done films that you've liked in that genre, currently, because
and also, smaller, like indie films.
Yeah. Jared, do you want to know the truth, how I found Miriam the first time? Here's the truth. I don't mind sharing it. And Candice, you weren't partners at the time, so I found Miriam. And the truth is, I went through on the database that you're talking about that Miriam just said, and I contacted about 10 of them. 5 of them didn't even write me back, so they ghost you, right? Because they're too busy or whatever. It's kind of like finding a distributor. The other 5 depends on how quick they write you back and what they say, and then you have a call. We didn't do a Zoom back then. We had a phone call, and I liked her personality. I mean, it's just a chemistry thing. That's really what I didn't check out any films. I didn't check out any references. I just liked the phone call. I liked her personality. I felt we were on the same page. That's how I did it, and it worked out. Now, it doesn't always work out, but it did.
Yeah. So I definitely agree. You're going to be working with this casting director, so you want to get along with them and like them. Otherwise, it would be a miserable process.
I'm going to say I didn't even have to like you. I just had to respect that you knew what you were doing and you understood what I wanted. Now, the fact is I do like you. That's a good thing, but I don't have to like you. I just have to know that you're good at what you do.
Right.
This is more fun when you like someone.
Yes.
I mean, it makes us wait.
Yeah. Because I can tell you, I don't like everybody on my crew. I like the fact that they're good at it.
Right.
Like, they're not going to be my friends. Some of them will be, maybe. It's the truth.
I know, but I feel like on a small, you're the exception.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. I told you.
because these are new producers and directors, and it's a small film, you probably want to get along with them. And yes, you want to like know that they can do the job and you believe in their talent and all of that. But you also want to be able to like have a fun set. Again, these indie small films, people are doing so many different roles. And if you have one bad apple, that blows it. Like that's annoying.
For sure. Hold on. No, the bad apples I get rid of right away because that kills the set. No, there's no room for bad apples. I agree with you. But I don't have to love everybody and be friends with them. They can't be a bad apple.
Right.
There's a mutual respect. I think even with the actors, you know, some actors, they might like you as a director, they might not. Like I know a lot of directors that have to be lovey-dovey with their actors. And I'm thinking like, why? They're there to do a job. You're not going to be friends afterwards. Maybe you will be, but it doesn't matter. As long as, you know, you have a good experience, the movie gets made well, hopefully gets distributed well so that, you know, their name gets out and they have proud of their performance. And that's it. And then you move on and, you know, maybe you're friends, maybe you're not. It doesn't matter. As long as they did a good job acting, you did a good job directing, and everybody got what they wanted out of it. But that's again my perspective. Like I'm not, when I cast, the chemistry of whether I'm going to be friends with them afterwards is inconsequential.
Right.
It's only about are they going to do a good job in the role.
Yeah.
And you know, they don't have to love me either. They just have to know that I am aimed at making a really good film and they're going to look good.
Everyone's on the same page to success of, you know, why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah. So Sally, anything else from your perspective?
No, I think that covers most of everything. Is there anything, Miriam, that you think that we're not asking that you think would be good for directors or producers to know?
No, I think you covered it, and I feel like we've gone like over things that I wouldn't have even thought of. So I think you guys came up with some really good questions. You know, your job is the hard one, I think. I feel like the line producer is a hard job. Just the scheduling and everything, because it can change. But yeah, no, I think you guys asked everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I just want to end thanking you for doing this, but I just want to make it really clear to indie filmmakers, primarily directors, that it's something we've iterated on several times in this conversation. Do not think you're making $100 million Hollywood film. Do it at the level, be very realistic to cast and operate at the level that you have available to your budget level. Because if you think you're working bigger, you're always just going to be disappointed. It's as opposed to being happy with what you have. Some of it's just a perspective. So like, don't be thinking, oh, every indie filmmaker I talk to starts with the A-list actors. Can I get this person? Can I get this person? I said, no. Even if you paid them $1 million a day, they're not going to act on your set because your set's too small and you're not experienced enough. They don't want to work with a first-time director because they don't want to look bad. It's not just the money, it's their reputation. And you can't blame them. Like it would be a bad career decision for, you know, somebody who's an A-list actor to work on your really low budget indie film that you're probably going to make a lot of mistakes on because you're a first-time director. So you can't blame them unless you say it's their project and they're good with it and they trust you totally. So I'm saying don't set your expectations unrealistically to start with because you're just going to be disappointed, as opposed to saying, hey, let's get a casting director who we trust to get us a really good cast at the budget level we can afford. That's my advice.
Well said.
And it works out. It works out. Like I know you're going to get us a great cast. By the way, I'm going to end with this. I know that you're actually going to get a better cast than I could have for sure gotten on my own because I don't even know who's out there. You know all the new actors. You know everybody who's doing everything. You know their availabilities. You will be able to compile it way better than we could have. So that is why I think it's a good decision to go with experienced casting directors. How's that for a plug?
I liked it. Thank you.
And then we'll put your information up afterwards. Okay. Anything else, Jer, Sally? We good? Okay. Candace, Miriam, thank you very much. And we look forward to working with you very closely on both. We're making 2 movies, but on the one that we're talking about. And yeah, it's going to be a great experience. So thanks for doing the
Great.
web. Lots of filmmakers are going to enjoy watching this.
Great. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So nice meeting everyone.
Thanks for watching this episode of We're Making a Movie. Make sure to subscribe to stay tuned for our next episode.